blockchain, and we've had a conversation in the past about how right now, if you go across the border, are you carrying $10,000 in cash?
You can carry it on your head. So what Bitcoin does is Bitcoin essentially says that money and speech are the same thing. And let me give you an example. A Swiss bank account, if I know the number and I know the password to that, that is money. That is as good as money, and I can cross borders with it. So they obviously can't stop you from crossing the border with money if you have a bank account somewhere remotely. Think of Bitcoin as a bank account in the cloud, and it's completely decentralized. Not the Swiss government, not the American government. It's all the participants in the network enforce it. And so the ledger, the distributed database, it's called the blockchain, is held in the cloud by all the parties involved. It can't be broken by any of them. It's cryptographically too strong. You would have to compromise the entire network to take over Bitcoin. Not even the NSA can do it. And the value of the Bitcoin is a bounty on the Bitcoin. So if the value of all the Bitcoin in the world today is $5 billion, that's a $5 billion bounty. Any hacker who can go break that can collect a lot of that money, but they can't. So it shows you how strong it is. Even the NSA couldn't break the blockchain today. So I don't think so. But because of that, that means that Bitcoin is protected, the value is protected, the money is protected. But notice what I said at the beginning, money is speech. That means the speech is protected. That means I can publish things into Bitcoin that no one can take away. I can publish WikiLeaks, for example, tracts of information into there that are irrevocable. I can
Explain that. Slow down. Explain
the Bitcoin blockchain is a giant database. That database has a $5 billion bounty on it, which is the value of all the Bitcoin.
So that's basically a $5 billion reward.
For breaking...
Hack me.
Correct.
And you've got $5 billion.
Correct, or something close to it. You may not get it all out,
sure.
but an approximation that's a reasonable assumption.
I'll take $500 million.
Sure. So that's the bounty that protects the blockchain. And the blockchain is a distributed database. And with an infinitesimal amount of Bitcoin, I can write anything into that database. And I think long-term, Bitcoin is a currency of the internet. So even if humans don't use it, routers will use it, web browsers will use it, web servers will use it. Because a web browser or web server...
Let me bring this to real world.
Machines will use it.
Sony would use this for all of the contracts to be able to stop what happened to them.
Sony would use Bitcoin-grade encryption.
Right.
So Bitcoin advances encryption. You and I may use Bitcoin for a transaction to lock our contract or our money into the cloud. Someone in China may use it for speech. They might use it to get a message out to the rest of the world anonymously in a way that it cannot be pulled back. So China may censor YouTube, China may censor Twitter, they won't be able to censor Bitcoin. There's no central authority. There's no one you can go to and say, we're going to turn Bitcoin off. Turning Bitcoin off is the same as turning the internet off. So the moment the internet became truly pervasive, it was inevitable that speech would become pervasive.
Why are there other than the obvious?
The Great Firewall of China will fall.
That's amazing.
In our lifetimes.
Why is there such pushback on Bitcoin other than it disrupts everything?
It disrupts everything. If it works, it'll be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Even if it doesn't work as advertised, it may still enable free speech and anonymous speech to a level that large states, totalitarian states, would be uncomfortable with. It may end up replacing... in
other words, with the blockchain, somebody in North Korea can tell us what's happening in the prison camps, and they can show us the videos and the pictures, and it can't be traced back to them.
It can't be, well, they'd have to be careful about it, but they're careful about it. It can't be traced, it can't be pulled back, it can't be stopped. You can't turn off Bitcoin without turning off the internet. That's how it's designed. What the internet did, people forget, what the internet did was it connected every human to every human. And so because of that, it reduced the power of the elites. It reduced the power of mass media. It reduced the power of control media. No one can control the message anymore.
Okay, so let me go here, because they're trying to. I hear a lot of people today, these are libertarians. And some of them are all for net neutrality. Net neutrality to get the big government, to get the big businesses and hold them to task, although Google read and edited the 335 pages of regulation that we've not been allowed to see.
Yeah, I think they mean well in that they're basically saying, hey, the Comcast and Verizon shouldn't be able to control what goes through the pipes.
Yeah.
But I think the Faustian bargain here is then you're saying, but then the federal government can control what goes through the pipes.
Right.
So it depends what you think is the greater evil. Personally, I would rather take the oligopoly of 2 or 5 competing ISPs rather than the government.
Answer to somebody.
At least I can switch. At least there's a few of them, as opposed to just one. Like I have to leave the country if I don't like the government policy. But I understand where they're coming from. But fundamentally, the internet will never truly free the human race until we have mesh networks that are not answerable to anyone. And that'll happen too, by the way.
What's a mesh network?
The technology already exists that would let my iPhone talk to your iPhone while it's sitting in your pocket, and it'll talk to her iPhone, his iPhone, and all the way down and just travel around the world. So the technology
does not go to a tower?
It would eventually have to hit fiber and towers and those kinds of things, but you could, in theory, already construct the technology to get the message from one end of the U.S. to the other without ever having to hit a central tower or cable. It's just very inefficient, but you can do it. That's the world that happens eventually. Maybe it's 20 years, maybe it's 50 years.
Who wins in the end here?
We do, people, as long as we don't blow ourselves up.
How concerned about that are you?
That's a tough one because, if the technology exists to blow up the world, there's always someone crazy enough to do it. And so that actually leads us to a logical conclusion that maybe we should have a panopticon, maybe we should watch everybody. Except it's just one loner who has to go off the grid. So that's one I just don't even know how to answer. Maybe we go to space. Maybe Elon Musk will save us all. Scatter out, spread out everybody.
It's always fascinating to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.